Okay, let's try that. Um, Facebook is still not there yet. Facebook is up? Okay. Audio is happening on Twitch. Uh, it hasn't loaded yet, still waiting. Okay. Hi everyone, sorry to having technical difficulties today. Had to reboot completely. Um, I don't even know if I'm on the headset or if I'm on the other mic. We'll see here in a second. But Facebook is struggling to come up, so I'm gonna give it another minute here and see if we can get Facebook up and running. It's still waiting for video. Although, okay, so I'm assuming we're connected on Twitch this morning already or this afternoon. Yeah, Facebook doesn't want to go. It's still waiting for video. We can try again. Okay. It's Wednesday. It's a great day outside, and yes, we got a little lax this today as we were just talking, and Andy says, "You got to get on." Whoops. And then, of course, what did I do? I forgot to plug in the microphone. Imagine that. Okay. And here we are. Facebook. So I'm just waiting for Facebook to catch up. It's taking its sweet time. Okay. So I hope everybody's having a good time. We're still sort of hanging out here with the beautiful weather back again. So took the day off yesterday, recovering from the last weekend of great stuff. Let's see. Still trying to get on. Okay. I just posted a message on the Q Talk page just so that people know it doesn't want to come on. For some reason, it won't. Okay. So here we are. I think we're just going to keep moving and see what happens here. I'm going to leave Facebook sort of up and, ooh, right? Ugh. Okay, so for everybody who's out there, thanks for watching. You're watching on Twitch and on YouTube Live today. Facebook is struggling and doesn't want to come up. All I have is a big gray box that says no. This is not going to happen today. Not even clear. Wait, can you hear this? Did you hear that tap? I tapped the microphone to see which microphone I'm actually on. No, I think you're on this. Okay, you're on the other one, so I'm going to take that off. Alrighty then. So, um, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being here. Your patience is much appreciated. Still fixing on Facebook. We'll see what happens. Yipes! Ugh, how painful is that? Okay, looks like we're up on Facebook. We didn't get notified, and heck, on my screen, I still see that it's not happening, but we're gonna go with it, okay? Rolling with the punches. Hi, today's demo day is Wednesday's Q Talk Live, and we're making this happen. Woohoo! It is demo day because, we're just trying to keep things a little simple, not overload you with projects after last weekend. Full of projects, 50 projects last weekend, and so we're just going to talk about pearls today and just sort of have fun. So I put on all my pearls today. I even have pearl earrings. And Andy says, "Do you even have a pearl ring?" Yeah, I do. I have a pearl ring. I know. I made this years and years and years ago. It's like the first pearl ring I ever made. I think it was 12, 13 years ago that I ever made it. I know. We all recognize this. We've all done this. It's sort of just a simple twist band, that kind of thing. So yes, you got to start somewhere. But if you have questions about pearls and things, do post them, and we will talk about that today because it's maybe it is. Is this better? Maybe this is the mic. I don't know which mic I'm on. So we're just going to go with it here. Okay. So hopefully that is better. Okay, so it looks like I was mistaken that maybe the microphone's not working. So I'm going to go with the mic today. All right. So so pearls, 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 pearls. What about pearls? You know, the thing about pearls is pearls are one of the oldest things that, one of the oldest gemstones, original gemstones. It's been around forever. And, you know, until the last, I would say 20 or 30 years, 20 years, they've been sort of cost prohibitive and out of reach. And then the pearl market really boomed, and it's a really touchable product, reachable product right now, because it used to be like, you know, in the 50s and 60s it was like the coveted item and not everybody had it and that kind of stuff, but now everybody wears pearls. So what you want to know is really the differences between a good pearl and a bad pearl, and how do you identify that, and what is that about? Where does this happen and how does it come from? So, you know, let's break it down just a little bit. So we're going to start with cultured pearls versus natural pearls. So one of the things that have been around, oops, one of the things about natural pearls is that they're really expensive as opposed to a cultured pearls, because they're, you know, when you culture the pearls, what they're doing is they're seeding the oyster or the mollusk, and then they form it. Whereas with just the natural pearls, it's really hard to find them perfect. That's why they're a little bit more coveted. But what's interesting here, and I'm going to show you, is I like to talk about these. You know, I know these don't look like much, but if you're ever around me or where we live, ask to see my pearls from Alexandria. These were given to me like 28 years ago, and Alexandria is one of the oldest sources of pearls, and these are absolutely natural. And what's interesting is I know they don't look like much, but it's amazing how they feel. They feel really great, and they're really nice and heavy, and I don't know. So there is a little bit of a difference that's out there, but it's one of my prized possessions because not many people can say that they have pearls from Alexandria. So that's what that's all about. Anyway, so to identify the pearls, let's talk about the do's and don'ts. Okay, so when you go to a show, one of the things that that pearl vendors talk to me a lot about is, why do customers come up to our booths and put this in their teeth? Like, people have a tendency to do this with it because they've been told. Um, okay, sorry. Andy's telling me to zoom out. So we've been told a long time ago that if you take pearls, how do you know they're natural? You take it and you rub it on your teeth, right? So you can feel the grit on it. So why does this freak out vendors? Let me tell you why it freaks out vendors. Because it's dirty and it's nasty and you don't know who all has touched those pearls. So don't put it in your mouth. And then you think about it for a second. How many people have done that before you did it? And definitely we're not going to be doing it in times of COVID, but in general, let's not do this because you're really freaking these people out. Okay, so there are definitely other ways to look at it to see that, you know, to recognize whether or not they're real. So first of all, you want to look at the pearl themselves, and you want to look for luster, and you want to look at the nacre. Okay, the luster, you know, the higher the luster, the more it's brilliant and shiny. It tells you about quality, and it tells you how that, you know, they're real, as opposed to glass or plastic pearls or coated glass, that kind of stuff. I mean, I know that Swarovski started doing Swarovski pearls, but once you take out a Swarovski pearl and you put it next to a natural pearl, you'll see the difference. Okay, and one of the ways I look at it too is I look at the hole. You can always tell one that's natural versus one that's glass and was coated because it's in the hole. Because if you look at the hole of a pearl, it sort of looks like a grit. It's a little bit dusty. So for me, that's what tells me that it's natural. Okay. Another thing too is when you're looking at them, it's really, really rare that you find a perfect pearl. You'll be paying a lot of money for it. So what you'll see are these tiny little, let's see if I can find one in here, tiny little marks. Like this one is dramatic, okay? But you'll see little tiny like pot marks. I think you can see it here. You see that? Just a little bit in there. Really, okay. Oh, actually, here's one. Okay. Even Mikimoto's, I know, so hard to see. Even Mikimoto's have little tiny pot marks on them. I don't know if you've had the joy of looking at Mikimoto's, but even at a $10,000 strand, you have a tiny little pot mark here and there throughout the strand. Typically, they try to hide it by putting it closer to the hole or have drilled a hole through it. So those are the more high-end ones. But anyway, so then comes to the quality of pearls, right? So of course, the more perfect they are, the more expensive they are, the more valuable they are. And sometimes people will rate them. A, double A, triple A, C, whatever. The problem with rating is that who's the standard? Who created the rating chart? And unfortunately, unlike diamonds, where there is a chart and there is a standard that was set up, in the pearl industry, there's no real standard. So it's sort of up to the manufacturer to rate the pearl. So one manufacturer could rate a pearl as a triple A, whereas another manufacturer will rate the pearl as a quadruple A. But pretty much anytime you get into the double, triple, quadruple A's, you're into a much higher end product, and not very seldomly will you ever, I don't think I've actually ever seen it, a pearl that was rated as a C, but you will see B graded pearls. Okay, so it's a matter of how they value their product more so than what the industry rates it as a double A, triple A, or quadruple A. Okay, so once you start looking at them, the next thing you want to do is, I always do start with telling them where I want my quality to be. And I get to know my pearl vendors pretty well, but I buy a lot more pearls than most people do. I know that what their AAA ratings are or their AA ratings, and depending on what the project is and what I'm doing, I'll say, you know what, I only want to look at your AA's or your AAA's. And then we start from there and I work my way backwards. Okay. So once I've determined that, okay, this is about the range I want to be in, the next thing you want to do is, again, I already mentioned that you want to look at luster. So when you're looking at pearls, you want to put it on something like this black piece of velvet, and you want to start rolling it, okay? And when you roll it, what you'll see is consistency in color and consistency in the luster. When it's not consistent, and again, I brought some dramatic, or I put out some really dramatic problems here that you can see the difference. You can see that the luster changed here in this ridge, right? So obviously I would consider this more or less a C grade pearl, right? But in the white ones, you'll also see this ridge. Okay, it's a little bit harder to find and a little bit harder to look for, but they are there. Like, see here, you can see the ridge, and sometimes it's not a defined ridge. What it is along the middle of it, it's just dull. So by rolling it, you'll see it. Okay. The next thing too, depending on what you're looking for in the quality, is you want to see that they roll evenly. So these peach ones that I have here, you'll see, are really consistent and round. And how do you know that they aren't? You see how they sort of wobble? All right, let me actually zoom in a little bit more. I zoomed out before to help you see it, but I think this is better if I zoom in. Okay, so you'll see the difference between these strands. This middle one wobbles the most. That means it's not round. So you're looking for a more round piece, a round pearl, if again you're looking for quality, right? I'm going to take this one off. It's just sort of interesting. So this one that I have on is actually an Akoya. No, I do not have I don't have Mikimoto's, but I do have this lovely strand of pink Akoyas that were given to me by my mother. So if you pull these out, you see they roll really nicely. They don't wobble at all. So these are really nice quality, as opposed to something like this that you can see the wobbling. Okay, Yeah, it doesn't move smoothly. Okay, so you want to look at that luster, make sure it's really nice and smooth and shiny. You want to look and see that there are no ridges and no dulling in the middle. That's important. You want to look and see that there's no pot marks. Like this one sort of has a weird ridge here, right? And the pot marks also count. All right. So how do you tell if they are dyed or are they a natural color? Well, first of all, first thing you want to do is just ask, okay? But it's when you don't trust them, or maybe you acquired it from an estate or something. Um, you want to smell it. If you're actually buying it from a vendor, you just take the pearls. I mean, they're not going to poo-poo you for smelling it. They'll poo-poo you for putting it on your teeth and in your mouth, but smell it. A lot of times you can smell the dye. Okay, really inexpensive, cheap colored pearls are dyed, and so you can smell the dye in it, and that's how you tell. Now, anymore, pearls are bleached to get to the white color, which is really not considered a bad thing. Okay, it's just a very standard practice that they do now, and then they're radiated for color. So you get some of those exotic bronze colors and peacock and things like that. They're radiated. I personally prefer the radiated pearls over the dyed pearls because I worry about it wearing out. Like when people wear it and they're sweating, and or they get moisture in it, and somebody would be silly enough to shower in these things, it might just bleed. So with radiated pearls, it's a much more for me, a much more permanent process. There was some talk many years ago about putting radiated pearls through the X-ray machine at the airport, that it would change the colors and whatnot. I don't I don't know how many times you have to put it through the X-ray machine to make it change colors, but that was something that was sort of brought up about, I don't know, 10 years ago or so. So, what kind of scent do you have in the dye? I it's it's okay. It's not petroleum, but it's sort of a chemical smell. I'm trying to think, and sometimes it's a little sweet on the smell. I don't know. It's so funny. I've never been asked that question, but I've always been able to detect it. This is also true, by the way, of gemstones. So when you're buying strands of beads that have been dyed, like when they take quartz and they dye it, so many times you just put up to your nose, like, oh yeah, there it is. I mean, and it's just a really distinct smell. I don't know. I'm going to say it's more of a chemical smell. It's not petroleum. It's a bit more of a chemical smell. It's a little bit on the sweeter side. I'm going to have to, I'm going to have to come back to that question after Tucson the next time I go to a show, which we don't know when that is. But next time I go to a show, I'm going to have to make a mental note to write that down. But that's a really good one. Anyway, okay, so consistency. Now, one of the stories I always tell when I talk about pearls is that, when I was younger, I really didn't care for pearls because I always thought they looked fake. No matter what strand I look at, they look fake. And somewhere when I was in my 20s, I happened to go into this jeweler that was a major pearl jeweler, right? And I don't know why, but she decided to educate me on pearls. And she took it out and she showed me all these things like rolling it, looking at the luster, looking for the ridges and the dullness and things like that, right? And I walked out of there going, it all looks fake to me. Don't know what I'm supposed to think about it, but okay. Fast forward to about 10 years ago. Gosh, honey, can you believe it's been 10 years? So 10 years ago, during our 10th anniversary, we went to Dubai. So while we were in Dubai, we were window shopping because really, what are we shopping for in Dubai? Bars of gold? That would be a no. But anyway, so we were shopping and window shopping, and we came across this high-end jeweler, just tiny little boutique that I'd never heard of. But obviously, we've never been shopping for a Rolls Royce either. So this is way above our budget, right? But anyway, so the guy was bored. We were standing there looking at the window, and the salesperson, he invited us in. We're like, no, 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 won't be buying anything today. He goes, oh, come on in. Because the thing is, when you have somebody in your store, you're more likely to draw in more customers. So, of course, we go in, and after some discussion, we share that, we're pretty much industry people, so we sort of understand what we're looking at. And so we're just looking around, and I see this strand of pearls that were Oh, about 10 or 12 millimeters. They were huge pearls, right? And they were amazing and they were beautiful. And he had it on the neck and there was no clasp on it, right? And so that was my first question. It was like, so you sell pearls like this, and when somebody buys it, you have to string it for them? And by the way, I saw no knots either. Okay. And he goes, "Oh, no, no, no. They are knotted and there's a clasp." And I said, "Excuse me?" So he pulls it out and shows us. And in the pearl, what he did was, so the pearls sat close like this. And he goes, "No, they're knotted." And when he bent it like this, it revealed the knot. So these people countersunk every single hole, every other hole, so that the knot would disappear when you wear it, so it looks seamless. Wow. Okay, so that was first point of so impressed. Second one was, so where's the clasp? So the clasp, because I did mention it was a big pearl, right? Now I think about, okay, so this is about an 11 millimeter pearl. It was bigger than this. It had to be at least 12. Anyway, so what they did was they drilled a hole inside of the pearl and buried the clasp inside. Wow, amazing. Another, oh my God, that's amazing, right? Anyway, so he had this strand out like this, and then he shows us the end and he goes, "Do you see that?" And there was one little diamond that had been set in the last pearl. And the reason why they did that was to help the person wearing it identify where their clasp was. I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's pretty amazing. Okay, that's cute." And he hands me a loop and he says, "Here, have a look." And I said, "Oh, no, no, no. I can see the diamond." He goes, "Oh no, please have a look." So I go in on this pearl and I on the diamond and I look at it. This, what, 2 millimeter, maybe 3 millimeter diamond had a laser etch of a scallop shell, which is their logo. Oh my gosh, mind blown. Oh, it was amazing. Like, okay, so who were these vendors? And I've never even heard of them. So we've all heard of Mikimoto, right? Well, this is Paspali. Paspali sold South. What am I thinking? Uh, Tahitian. South Seas pearls is what their primary is. So then comes the question: how much were these pearls? Okay, a strand, 12 millimeter pearls. They were white, and they were about 16 inches. And so we're like, well, how much were? Just curious, how much? 150,000 USD. It's like, wow, that is amazing. And then he brings up, oh, these are the inexpensive ones. So I'm like, what? What do you mean the inexpensive ones? Are you nuts? He goes, oh yeah, the expensive ones are over at the Mall of the Emirates, and they have the pink ones, and the pink ones are 250,000. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, so maybe we should just go over there and look, right? So it's just like, wow, totally crazy, absolutely nuts. So what takes us even to the next level? Okay, so I mentioned that, to me, for the longest time, pearls sort of look fake. No matter how you look at it, to me, in the untrained eye, it sort of looks like they could be glass. What's interesting, because sometimes they're just maybe a little too perfect. What's interesting about this strand of pearls that I have never experienced before in my life with anything is that they were so amazing, they had to be real. That nothing man-made could look this good. That it had to be nature made. That's the difference, and that's what's really cool about it. So, if ever you find yourself in Dubai or maybe Australia, go look up Paspali. It's worth walking into their store, and you know, maybe you can afford the whole strand, or maybe you can just buy one. But that's the scoop. So here I have Tahitians, and what's interesting too is, although these are not perfect, okay, and you can see that here. You can see how imperfect they are, but this is very typical of Tahitians is that you have a very perfect side and then you have a side that's not, as you can see here. Okay, so what they do is they have a tendency to sell it just like this because people put caps on them. Okay, so that's, when you buy Tahitians, don't be so concerned that you have one side that looks like that, because again, typically you buy these half drilled and you put a little cap on them. So anyway, okay, what else can I tell you about pearls? So, yeah, oh, feeling. Okay, you want to feel the weight on pearls, okay? Because remember, anymore with the culture pearls, what they do is they're seeding the oyster. And because it takes anywhere between 5 and 10 and 20 years to produce a really great pearl, what they do is they are inserting larger, shall we say, larger seeds, okay, larger irritants, because then it happens faster. And because the demand is so high, okay. So if you feel it, lacquer is really heavy. So the longer the irritant is in the pearl, the more lacquer or the more nacre it develops, okay, and therefore it makes the pearl heavier and heavier and heavier, okay. So if you get into a large pearl and you weigh one 10 millimeter pearl to another 10 millimeter pearl, you can tell one has a larger irritant on the inside because it's lighter than the other, and the heavier one is the one that has a higher quality because it's been sitting down in the ocean or in the water much longer. So basically the oyster is sucking on it longer and developing all of the nacre around it. So that's yet another way to tell quality of a pearl is in the weight of it, okay. So do feel it between one and another. So as you're looking at all your pearl vendors, that's part of it, and you can also tell by just putting them side by side, okay. And okay, so oh, regarding coin pearls like this, so this is just an oval coin pearl. The only way that you're going to get shapes is if they put in an irritant of that shape, and so the mollusk is developing around it. Again, the coin pearl market is sort of interesting, because so we found out recently that it's getting harder and harder to find really good coin pearls. And when you're looking for coin pearls, what you want to see is, again, you're looking at the nacre, but you're also looking at pot marks. And sometimes the pot marks are so distinctive that you can see the irritant inside. You definitely don't want to buy those, and you definitely want to work them down on the price. I'm sorry, Andy, what was the question? As you know what, from what I understand, pearl prices don't fluctuate like that. But what's interesting is I can tell you that the pearl pricing has gone down since, I'm sorry, honey? Okay. So as far so there was a question if pearl prices changed like precious metal prices. As far as I know, no. But what I have seen in the last 20 years is that it has gone down. But I feel like that's starting to change again too. Because back in the day when I started, you can buy a strand of 6 millimeter dancing pearls for at like rock bottom wholesale when you're buying by the hundreds, okay? Because I used to buy it by the hundreds of strands. You could buy it for approximately, I don't know, like $3 or $4 a strand. No big deal, right? And then, no, I take that back. I take that back. You were buying it at about $6 a strand, and then fast forward about 10 years, the price went down, and you can find it for about $3 a strand. But then the quality started depreciating, and so then somewhere in the last, I don't know, 5 years ago, 5 years or so, like coin pearls, the price continues to go up because we can't find it anymore. It's really hard. Like somebody, I can't remember, one of the ladies who was on the girls trip this past year was looking for something like 6 millimeter coin pearls. We couldn't find it anywhere. Well, after talking to one of the pearl vendors, she's like, oh yeah, if you see it, you need to sort of buy it. I don't care what the price is because they've become really scarce and people aren't producing anymore. So as it's becoming more scarce, because it became like this boom, and all of a sudden became everything became really inexpensive. And then now it feels like things are going back up as there's less and less of it available. So I don't know. I think it fluctuates with demand and availability. So I don't know. There we are. Okay. Any other questions out there? I know it was a little haphazard today. I apologize. It's, I think taking the day off sort of threw me off by rockers. All so relaxed. The weather's just amazing outside. I just want to go outside. But anyway, so when you're buying pearls, again, just remember, look at them, feel them, yeah, smell them, talk to the vendor, ask them to spend some time with you and explain it to you, because they should be more than happy to educate you as to what you're looking at and do a comparison. It's really easy when you're looking at a pearl vendor because they have all their high ends. They always keep their high ends at one end and they always keep their low ends at another. Take that low end, take that high end, put it together, do the comparison, and you can see. Another thing too is you want to make note of each vendor and how they are grading the pearls, so that when you're ready to buy from them again, you can say, hey, I want the double A or I want the triple A, and then they can get you to that point, especially now that most of us are ordering on the phone or online. And a lot of times they'll send out pick boxes, so they give you a variety and you pick out what you want. And don't be afraid to ask for a pick box. This is actually a fairly common practice in the gem industry because it's so hard, especially since the shows are right now mostly going away. At least they have an opportunity to sell to you by sending you a pick box, that you might just take some of them versus all of them. So they'll send you a pick box and you send back what you don't take. So this is again a fairly common practice among gem vendors, and especially with the pearls, it shouldn't be that big of a deal for people to send that to you. But you want to start comparing between one and another, and that's how you will know more about what you're looking at. Anyway, okay, so what other questions do we have? Anything, Andy? Nothing? Oh, so again, I apologize. It's sort of a it was a rough start today, and heck, it was a rough video altogether. Let's just go with that. But hopefully that will get you there and dismiss some of the old wives' tale on this. And pearls are great. They've been around forever, and you should enjoy them, and you should pull them out and wear them. As I'm realizing that, I hadn't thought about these Alexandria pearls in a very, very long time. I think I'm going to take them out and I'm going to start enjoying them. And everything else that you own in your jewelry box. I know, we're home a lot. Wear it. Surprise the spouse. See what they say. It's a thing. Andy was loving how I had all my pearls on today. Just something completely different from what we normally do. That said, okay, so what's happening on Monday? On Monday, we are doing the third part of Lily of the Valley. We're going to do a ring on Monday. On Friday, we have that free Zoom with the kit. That's the earring. It's Twisted Sachet. And then next week, we're going to start up again with the step-by-step surprise luster. Will be next Wednesday. So if you still need a kit, let us know. And then we have next week's Zoom is the wisdom. So the last question here is, what are my thoughts on druzy pearls, the bumpy ones? I think they're fun. I think there's merit in all of this stuff. It's just a matter of how you use it and how you put it together. They're just fun. I do love Keishi pearls. I never wear them. I don't know why. I feel like I can't pull them off, but I see it on other people and I go, wow, that's just pretty nice. I always admire it on other people more than on myself. But yeah. So if you can pull it off and you can make something great with it, why not? I think basically all pearls have a lot of merit. I never look at a strand of pearl anymore and go, ew, you know, unless they're plastic and blue. That's the only time I really judge pearls. Like, you know what? Blue plastic pearls belong on kids. That's how I feel. I don't know. you know, because you can get them so inexpensive right now. Dyed pearls can be so inexpensive, and so why not just buy dyed pearls instead of plastic? You know, you can pick up a strand for probably $5. It's a thing. You just have to work a little harder to make it. That's all. You just can't buy it. Anyway, oh yeah, one other note. Project number 50 is coming up, believe it or not, in like 2 weeks. So if you got any ideas, throw them at me, but we're still tossing things around. We're thinking about doing a pearl project and maybe a pearl project with gold, but price of gold is over 2,000 right now. So it's sort of crazy. So, mhm. Oh, a question here is what about putting stones with other gemstones? Is there an abrasive issue? You know what? Actually, I did not mention anything about wearing stones either. Yes. Oh, pearls with other gemstones is what I meant to say. Didn't come out of my lips. But anyway, so is that a problem? You know, I would probably separate it a little bit with something. I wouldn't butt it up to a faceted stone. But yeah, it'll wear over time. And speaking of wear, one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to spray your perfume on your pearls, okay? Because it will lose its luster. So you want to put on your perfume and then you want to put on your pearls if you feel so inclined. Even better, spray the perfume on your clothes as opposed to your neck when you're wearing your pearls because the pearls will the absorb the scent, and over time that will affect the quality of the pearl too. So, and additionally, if you have it knotted, it could eat at the string, but you do want to every so often have your pearls re-knotted because the knots do come loose, and then there will be gaps between your pearls. So every so often, depending on how often you wear your pearls or if you've even had them for a long time. I mean, if you look at grandma's pearls, they're all stretched out, right? So every so often you do want to re-knot them. So putting them next to something, just be careful. I would put a spacer between them to separate them from faceted pearls. I'm sorry, faceted stones. But outside of that, I don't worry too much unless they're really high end pearls. If they're really high end pearls with like the Tahitian, I would take greater care to at least knot in between them and put some distance in there. Okay, so all right, I think that's it. That concludes me for today, and we've got plenty of things going on for the next couple of weeks. So thanks so much for hanging out with me and fumbling through today. Yoips! And we'll see if we can get on track by next week. Virtually Ever Crafting, we are meeting with all the instructors today and see how we can make it better. So if you're an instructor and you're watching, I'll see you shortly. To everybody else, have a great rest of the week. I'll see you on Monday if I don't see you on Friday. All right, have a good one.